But yeah, so collecting, and so it was at that point that I started like trying to figure out collecting, because it was more because again I always liked, I've actually like from like all since I was a little kid. I mean, I was watching not only Godzilla movies but watching Star Trek and all the science fiction stuff that was on.
Yeah.
And I always really liked the toys, and even though I didn't like have a lot of them, but and going to comic book conventions and then later like other types of like conventions that would have more toys, I always really excited about the toys, but I never really bought much. I just like had a lot of fun looking at them. So it's like, but now it's like, oh, okay, now that I can like now I've got something I can do with them. It's like, besides just like playing with them and looking at them, I can actually like review them and put them on YouTube. So then I started getting more focused on. It's like, oh, let me keep doing this. So let me keep trying to let me keep trying to make videos. And actually, I did have some Godzilla toys before that. I did have. I was starting to buy before that. Come to think of it, but again, just not a lot, because part of it was I was like a poor student for like a really long time, but now once I finally like had a job. But yeah, you were also like, I take it you also started up like making videos around for the 2014 movie, or did you start before that?
Well, I started before that. I think, and I remember a couple of videos, like my early videos that I did. I'd like make a video, post it, and then I'd delete it like 2 weeks later and redo it. So I probably posted the same couple of reviews, just done differently. And it was definitely a couple, I think a few years before that, because I think I remember making videos leading up to the 2014 movie, like talking about trailers and stuff. I think most of this I've taken off my channel because it was so bad. Like, because I was, when the 2014 movie came out, I was I was like 15 or something, probably even younger. So I was really, really young and just kind of doing stuff I don't love looking back at. So a lot of that stuff I took down a while ago, but yeah, it was around. And then I definitely started picking up around the Godzilla 2014 because I started getting those toys and talking about them. And then yeah, I remember we'd find each other's videos and we were commenting and talking on each other's videos way back then. So it's kind of funny to think, just kind of look back on that and say, oh wow,
Yeah.
we've been kind of YouTube friends for like 8 years now.
Okay, so did you have a camera like to do this on? Is that how you were able to do it?
Yeah, I'd actually go out, and my parents just kept like their little digital camera. They just kept it out in in a drawer somewhere in the kitchen or something. So I just go take that and record it, and then pop the memory card
Oh
out and
yeah.
bring it back to the computer, and plug that in, and get everything going. Now I just do everything with my phone pretty much.
Yeah,
Um,
because I think a lot of the reason I like had some success at this on YouTube is because I started like before everyone had a could record video on their phone. Because
right.
now it's like, a toy comes out, it's like everybody in the world can like, shoot the toy and put it on YouTube if they want to. So you got like lots of lots of people posting. I think when I did it, it was before, 2014 was before everybody could like shoot video on their phone. Uh, but So I actually had a DSLR camera. Uh, and the reason I had that was basically like I had a kid in like school, like my wife and I had a kid in school, and she would like do musical performances, and it's like my wife was like, oh yeah, we want to be able to record our kid like performing, like playing the piano or what have you at
Yeah.
the school shows. So we bought this camera, and it's like, oh well, there too, it's like, oh, I got this camera. It's like there's a new Godzilla movie and I got this camera, I can record video. And so it's like, yeah, I should do this. So I think that's yeah, so there was a lot, there was less there was fewer of us posting posting back then. Because that's one thing I found it interesting is like, I think if I tried starting now, it's like I don't think I'd get much I don't think I'd get much attention, because it's just like there's lots of because there's lots of people, lot more people doing it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point to bring up. I never really thought about the camera versus phone thing, but yeah, I'm sure you're right. That's funny how that ends up working out. But yeah, I was just using like a little digital camera, and then I had to go plug the SD card in, and now I just record stuff with my phone and airdrop it to my computer, and then I'm done.
No. Oh yeah, very cool.
So
Yeah, I'm still trying to use a like a regular camera, though sometimes I wonder if like if I should just be better off like just doing the phone, because the regular camera, like, it doesn't focus very well. It sort of like loses and actually it's like G Forever with his using his camera, but it's like we lose focus very very easily. And so it makes it a struggle that he's got to like try to, when he's trying to shoot a toy, that it's like he's got to, trying to keep it in focus is very tricky. And then I got to try to edit. So often when I'm editing, I'm like, okay, let me try to find the moment when the toy was in focus, and I'll keep that in the video, and I'll like try to cut out all the parts where it's blurry.
yeah, yeah, that's one
But
thing. It's nice.
but yeah, because but yeah, with phones it's like, I think just because it's like a smaller sensor, I think it's easier to have everything in focus at once, and sort of like keep the focus.
Yeah, and then if it goes out of focus, it's pretty easy to just correct it with by tapping. But yeah, I definitely remember like my original setup for reviews was like I just had my desk that I'd use for like homework and stuff, and I just had the little camera, and I'd sit it on the edge of the desk on a couple of rolls of duct tape. I just would sit it on top of that,
I
and that
remember you
was
had like Godzilla. I think it was written in Japanese, wasn't it? You'd written out Gojira in hand by hand. Because I
oh
think sometimes it seemed like you
yeah,
were filming. I think you were like filming. Yeah, it was like you had like a dresser. I remember sometimes it seemed like you had like a dresser in a closet, and then you wrote
okay, yeah,
like by hand. You wrote Gojira like in Japanese characters on a piece of paper, and you like put that. You had that taped up to the wall, and then you would like put the figure like down in front of that,
yeah, and
and
I think you're right. Yeah, so that was just my desk, and I put the camera on a couple of rolls of duct tape and just use that as my backdrop,
oh yeah,
and then for any of
yeah.
the videos where I was in shooting kind of like behind with my collection behind me, I just had like a tiny little walk-in closet in my room. And so I put the camera up on one of the shelves where like my pants were. And then I took a picture and I put the picture frame behind the camera so I could see what the camera was shooting on the little playback screen
No, there you
through the
go.
picture frame so I could make sure everything was in focus.
No,
And
oh
yeah,
yeah, very good.
those were kind of my ghetto setups back in the day.
Oh yeah. But I always thought your videos stood out, that you were like clearly a fan. You were like very clearly a fan who was like very excited about Godzilla and about these toys. And I thought you always had a good
Oh yeah, well,
presentation
thanks.
of showing them. And
Yeah, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I
yeah. It's
definitely
like, here
always
it
liked.
is.
Yeah, I liked your videos a lot too. It was fun to watch, and and then we'd kind of end up posting the same stuff and get to kind of see what each. It was fun, kind of being able to see what you thought of something I had just talked about, and so yeah, I was definitely watching your videos for a while, and then I moved out of my parents' house after high school, um, and then I took a pretty big break from filming just because I was never, I wasn't home, and then I moved out, and then I kept my Godzilla collection there for a while, and then I moved it to where I was, but didn't have a good setup, and then I was kind of bouncing around for a while, and now and then when the Godzilla versus Kong stuff started coming out, I was like, I just kind of decided I wanted to get back into it
Yeah.
and just keep going for fun because it's fun to talk about everything and connect with people just like this and through comments on videos and everything, just kind of see what everyone thinks of different things, and then of course I can use the YouTube channel as an excuse to just buy everything Godzilla.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I might have actually stopped to myself. It was just if it was just me doing it, but the fact that it became more of a social activity, because I was making the videos with G Forever. The fact that it's like the two of us making it together, I thought made it more fun. And of course he has everything. It's like so he's like
Yeah.
the lifelong. So I'm like I said, I've been a lifelong fan, but again I was kind of like so, and always liked the toys and would always like stare at them whenever I could see them, but again I wasn't really buying much. So but yeah, G Forever has like been buying like basically since he was like a kid, like as much, as soon as whenever he was able, he's been buying stuff. So he's got like so when I go to his house, it's like, oh, basically it seems like he's got everything from the last 30 years. And not only does he have everything, but he actually knows where it is, which always amazes me. So again, when there's some like new figure that we're like showing, it suddenly occurred to him, oh yeah, this is similar to this other figure. It's like, just a minute, and he'll run to another room and run back and like, oh yeah, here's this other figure that's like, same monster, but done, like, 15 years ago. We can compare these. And it's like, oh yeah, oh yeah, great. And then it's like, oh yeah, yeah, it's like, room after room, he's got all this stuff. At one point I mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, there's like, one I was just, we were chatting and I mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember seeing these like plush Godzilla figures too. And he's like, oh yeah, I got those, they're in the closet. And he like opens up this door, and it's like, sure enough, there's all the plushies. uh so it's like, oh yeah, yeah. So that's uh so the fact that he has the fact that he has such, and he's got a real knowledge of this stuff too, like knowledge of the movies and knowledge of the toys, like much more than I do. So I keep learning about this. I keep, little by little, I'm slowly learning more about it from him. So it sort of makes, it makes it fun. But again, it's like, and also, but it's nice that there is this community of fans online too, that we get to interact with each other now. It's getting easier now that everyone's using Zoom.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty. And yeah, when I was last week when I was talking to him, I was mentioning this figure and that figure and this X Plus and this SH Monster Arts, and he's like, oh, yep, I know that one. Have it. Oh, that one's there. That one's in the other room. So yeah, it's fun. He's got quite the expensive collection and tons of knowledge. Yeah, so he knows tons about everything. So yeah, like even over the last couple of weeks since we've been talking more, I'll send him the occasional thing and be like, oh, do you know much about this figure? I've been thinking, it's kind of something that I've been interested in for a while. Do you know much about it? Do you like it? And he'll send me a whole thing like, oh yeah, I got that one. This one's awesome. Here's what I paid for it 10 years ago. And I'm like, how the heck do you remember this stuff?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely fun to chat with him. I definitely would love to see his collection more in the future. It's a really fun one to check out.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So why did you, so and how did you pick Poster 64? So your channel used to be named Poster
Yeah.
64, and why did you decide to change it? Of course, it didn't have Godzilla in the name.
Yeah, and I honestly wish I remembered why I chose that. I I really don't even remember. I remember just thinking like, oh, I'm posting videos. Maybe I'll just call myself, and I think I made my YouTube channel. I think I made it back in 2011. So I would have been like 13, 14 probably. So yeah, I don't know. I just figured I don't know why I didn't pick something with Godzilla in the name or something Godzilla related at least. And then the 64 just came from, I think it wouldn't let me do the poster. So, because I actually went back and if I, in my older videos, I used to just introduce myself as the poster and I ignored the 64, even though it was in my name. And then I stuck with it for a long time and then just kind of decided to change it just because I wanted to have something Godzilla related. And that I really liked that super cheesy line from the 2019 movie when that one guy goes, "Oh my God," and the other guy just goes, yeah. So I like the
Oh yeah.
little "Oh my Godzilla" from the movie. So I kind of just stole it from there. But
Oh,
yeah, I just kind of
cool.
wanted something Godzilla related and thought of that was a fun one.
Yeah, I originally just called my YouTube channel Heisenberg. Again, it's like in keeping with the fact
Right.
that I was like, okay, here's Heisenberg reviewing Godzilla toys. But then it's like, I did end up renaming it. Well, after Breaking Bad was over, and I thought, it's like, okay, well, this is calling it Heisenberg, I think it's getting a little dated, and also I think it's like, again, it's like, it might be a bit misleading that it's not connected to Godzilla. But I didn't want to give it a Godzilla name because I thought, okay, well, I'd like to do more than just Godzilla stuff, and I was reviewing some other things too. Yeah, but it's like, oh, but just in general, it's like, oh, I want to try to expand beyond just Godzilla, and expand beyond reviews. So I just sort of like tried. I always like the word luminous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was like one word I had to learn, like in school, as like, as a spelling word. Got to learn how to spell luminous, and I was like, oh, I just kind of like the word. So it's like, okay, I'll rename the channel Luminous, and yeah, and the full name, and and I'll say, it's like, okay, this is Luminous News. So when I email, occasionally I'll like email or something like a toy company, say, oh yeah, yeah, we're Luminous News, and we review Godzilla toys, and would you please send us like a sample? And I never hear from them. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Normally, the normal thing is like they never acknowledge my existence. Most toy companies like just like pay no attention to me at all. But there's been a few. There's been a few. Like NECA actually was nice to send me samples.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, to review.
That's really cool. NEC has always been one of my favorites. Also, just the lower price, but still really articulate and good detail, especially because they're only like $25-$30. So to have almost SH Monster Arts detail and articulation for a fraction of the price. Yeah, I always loved NECA, and I still have
Oh
a
yeah.
tiny bit of hopeful optimism that they'll get their license back and be able to keep doing Godzilla stuff, because they were really starting to excite me with all the getting into the Mothra and the Rodan, kind of expanding. So it'd be fun for them to get
Oh
their
yeah.
license back and do more versions of Godzilla, and then get
And the
us other monsters.
Yeah, and the NECA Godzilla figures kept getting better too. So it's like, especially the tails kept getting bigger, like bigger and longer. Like the tails kept getting
Right?
better.
Yeah.
So I remember one time it's like, yeah, like, there was like one that G Forever and I were reviewing, and we didn't have, and it's like, oh yeah, this looks good, and the tail looks good. And then we thought, it's like, I wonder if like this, I think, yeah, and I thought it's like how does this compare? Because we didn't have it out originally. It's like, how does this compare to like some of the older NECAs? So again, I think G4 pulled one out and pulled out like one of the older NECAs, and like the tail on the older Godzilla NECA like just looked so tiny and puny compared to
Yeah.
like this new figure with the new tail. And it's like, oh man, it was like quite the shock that it's like it was so much better. But yeah, I sort of yeah, I'm hoping either NECA does it again, or also I think I wouldn't mind if McFarlane gave it a try, because
Yeah.
McFarlane Toys, they started out doing a whole bunch of monsters, the early McFarlane Toys, and I think that's something they're really good at, is doing monsters.
Okay. Yeah, that could
So
be
I don't know if
cool.
they'd want to do it. I don't know if they'd want, if they'd want to do it or not. But it's like, I think I'd want one of those two, either Neko or McFarlane, to make some.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure why NECA ended up kind of parting ways with Toho, or whoever they had to go through to license everything.
Yeah.
But I saw
Well, it seemed.
something. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I think what happened was that it was Playmates wanted to, I don't know the exact order of things, but for which movie was it? So for, 2000, yeah, they lost it around, yeah, for Godzilla versus Kong. It seemed like all of a sudden Playmates has the license, and it seemed, the impression seemed to be that that Toho didn't want to both Playmates, or at least, or some, or with the parties, don't know who initiated what, but it seemed like they didn't, either Playmates or Toho didn't want both Playmates and NECA to be making Godzilla toys. Didn't want that extra competition,
Oh, okay.
because yeah, because I think in Bandai, like in Japan, Bandai is very dominant in making Godzilla toys, and it seems like uh, they've got like such a good relationship with Toho that I think they can go to Toho and say, it's like, oh yeah, I don't want these new toy companies to make these toys, because it's like we don't want to compete with them. And it seems like, yeah, Toho will
Mm.
like seems like will go along with that, and not, give the license out to other newer and smaller companies, because but yeah, so it seems like these toy companies don't want to compete with each other, so I think they try to, when in getting a license, they want to sort of like try also make sure that nobody else has like a similar license.
Oh, okay. That's a
So I
good
think
point.
it's sort of, yeah. So yeah, so I thought it's like, so I thought it's like, oh, I thought, well, maybe what'll happen is at some point Playmates will get tired of like making Godzilla toys, and they'll lose the license, and then maybe it'll go back to NECA.
Yeah,
But
that's a
but
good
Oh, it's
theory.
interesting. Playmates is a publicly traded company, so they like they do public stock reports of like how the company's, these reports to stock shareholders. How is the company doing? And I remember, so I looked them up in years past. So in years past, they're doing really well, and they're really pushing the turtles. Like that.
Mhm.
That's what made Playmates a big successful company. It was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that they were the first to make those toys. And yeah, I looked at these old stock reports, and they're doing well, and the turtles are selling. And then in recent years, they actually were, the sales kept getting smaller and smaller, and then they were actually starting to lose money. So
Oh.
like before, so in the recent years, they were losing money, yeah, uh, and then yeah, so then they got the Godzilla license, and I think when Godzilla versus Kong came out, I think those toys sold well, And so I looked at those stock reports, and suddenly they were making money again.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, on the like first page of the stock report, it's like, yeah, things are going well, and it's largely due to our Godzilla versus Kong, our Godzilla toys. So both like Godzilla versus Kong and the classic toys.
Yeah,
And it
okay.
says like, so we want to keep making more. And so that was the first news that said, it's like, yeah, they're going to try to make more. Of course, it's not just up to them; they got to get permission from Toho. But so I think at least at the moment, Playmates wants to make more Godzilla toys.
Yeah.
But again, it's like what are we, but it's all, these things are all very volatile. So we'll see what really happens.
Yeah. Well, and more stuff from them definitely excites me because I remember when they first took kind of started taking over and they come out with like a Godzilla 2004, a Shin Godzilla, a Space
Oh
Godzilla.
yeah, yeah.
Those were horrible.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was
Those
so
looked
funny.
so bad. But then if you like, fast forward, the Godzilla versus Kong stuff looks really cool. And then the most recent couple they've done, like the Gorosaurus and the Rodan, looked awesome. So they've definitely kind of upped their game and
Yeah,
are
I think
coming
that
up with some really good stuff now.
yeah, I think those early toys were like around when the pandemic was happening, or at least the movie had been delayed. Was the movie delayed even before the pandemic?
I
Or
think it got delayed once and then the pandemic delayed it again because I remember I think
yeah,
it had at least two, maybe three big delays.
yeah, yeah,
One of
because
them
this is
which
before.
was pre-COVID, yeah.
These toys came out pre-COVID, so I think the movie got delayed. So it seems like what happened was, and again, I've heard from others like Ultrazilla, I think had the best. Like again, it's like the best theory of what was happening. It seemed like probably like yeah, these Playmates toys were Walmart exclusives, so probably they Playmates was probably under contract to like supply Walmart with Godzilla toys, but at the same time they're also under contract not to like come out with the Godzilla versus Kong toys, too much in advance of like the actual release of the movie. So I think they got stuck where okay, we're supposed to deliver toys, Godzilla toys to Walmart, but we can't deliver the Godzilla versus Kong toys because the movie was delayed. So it seemed like they just were like rushed out. Yeah, it seemed like they just rushed out like these classic toys, which were yeah really bad. And I thought the funniest moment for me was that some of them were actually Bandai figures.
Yeah.
It was like there were these Bandai figures, and then so yeah, the review. I think the funniest moment was when so yeah, I remember when those Playmates first came out. Again, it was like me in the car driving all over the state, like day after day, like stopping sometimes two or three times in the store, like because I was determined I want all of them. I want to make a video because yeah, partly yeah that was I think partly it's because of my early success, but also I think it's fun to have a video where you got all of them, you can show them all at once.
Right,
So I
yeah.
was determined I want to find all of these toys, and it's so hard just waiting for them to show up in Walmart, just because
Right.
it's like and I was over and over again, and it's like finally, and actually at the last, and then yeah, so at finally I thought to say okay, I finally got them all, and then all of a sudden I hear about more of them. It's like, oh, there's also Mechagodzilla and a King Ghidorah, and it's like, oh no, it's like so, but finally it's like okay, so yeah, I've been at this long enough. It's like I'm gonna just like make a video with what I have because I managed to get almost all of them, and then it's like I made one last stop actually in my local Walmart just down the street from me, and they actually had the few that I was missing. They had like the King Ghidorah and the Mechagodzilla, which
Oh.
were actually Bandai's. It's like oh these are Bandai. So we made the video where it's like okay, let's make the video where we show these, and so of course we've got the with G Forever, he's got the Bandai. So it's like, okay, so he's got the Bandai. So it's like, so we basically did it where it's like, oh yeah, here's the new Playmates. And he's like, here's this one and this one, and there's this one. And he shows the Mechagodzilla. And I sort of speak up. And it's like, oh, G Forever. It's like that Mechagodzilla looks kind of familiar. It's like, it does? It's like, yeah. It's like, didn't Bandai have, come out with that first? And so, yeah, of course, G Forever, it's like, well, let's see. And there's the Bandai, and like side by side it's like the same packaging, same figure, except one says band one box says Bandai, the other one says Playmates. And then we sort of like it's like, well, what's it say on the bottom of the foot? And it was so funny because you look at the bottom of the foot, because like sculpted into, because the bottom of the original one, it's like sculpted into the bottom of the foot is Bandai, where it's like it's stamped in.
Right.
And so we look at the Playmate version, and that Bandai stamp is still there. But what Playmates did was like with like black ink, with black, like they took their own like ink stamp and stamped like Playmates in blank ink on top of the Bandai. So I took a zoomed in picture of that and show that, and it's just so funny. It's so funny to see. It's like I
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, here's the new Playmates toy. Here's the new Playmates toy. See, it says Playmates right there over where it's right on top of where it says Bandai. But yeah, so it seems like they probably just got, like, again, they were probably just stuck for having to sell something, give something to Walmart. So they made a deal with Bandai and did that. But yeah, I actually had a lot of fun, like being, I actually was amused about how bad they looked. And so I
Hmm.
actually still have them like up on my shelf here. But yeah, but overall, I am glad that they're looking better, like with the Gorosaurus. The Gorosaurus looks so good. It's like I'm glad that they're starting to look better instead of like so, so cheesy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh yeah, and also the recent video with, again, G Forever right now has like the XM Studios Space Godzilla, like uh
Yeah. The
the
huge one.
yeah, that really big one. That's that Polystone. That's that Polystone Space Godzilla, which is very big, very heavy. And so I said, it's like, okay, when you're showing that, it's like when you're showing that to review, like get the Playmates Space Godzilla out and put it next to it, because I thought it would be so funny to see. It's like, okay, now here's the comparisons. Here's the Playmates Space Godzilla, because it's like the two extremes of, like,
Yeah.
like the really bad looking, cheesy, cheap toy, and then this like really high end, expensive thing. And so yeah, he pulls it out. At one point, he like sticks. I was like, stick the Playmates head inside of like the XM Studios mouth there. So he like sticks the mouth in there. Uh,
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
but one struggle I've had, speaking of NECA, is like one thing again with the YouTube channel, one thing I wanted to do, because it seemed pretty clear. It seemed like one way to get, because basically I wanted to try to have the channel grow. It's like I wanted to have it like have broad appeal, but it was my goal. It's like, oh, I want to try to get more subscribers. I want to try to get this thing to grow. So I was really trying to figure out, okay, what would be popular to show, and part of it is to show like breaking news. It's like, okay, you want to figure out whatever's new and exciting. You want to show that and try to show it first. And a lot of the new toys, like a lot of new toys just in the world, are shown first at New York Toy Fair in in February.